I'm Danielle Metz,
I'm Robert Vaughn.
and this is the Danielle Metz Show. Well, Robert, I thought we'd try something a bit different today. This is our third or fourth show, I believe, that we've been doing on YouTube, and it's new to us being on this side of the camera because for so long I've been following people on the other side of the camera. So I thought maybe today we'd discuss some of the people that inspired us and that we think other people should check out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm game. Let's go.
Well, I figured I'm not doing this in any particular order. It took me forever to try to remember everybody that I follow or like or even just on a casual basis. So I thought I'd start with Bill Whittle. And the reason why I'm starting with him is because he captivated me with this speech he did back in 2013 in Toronto, Ontario, about the assault on civilizational structures. It was such a profound and powerful speech that ever since then I've followed everything he's done. His firewalls, Right Angle when he started his own channel after being with PJ Media for a time, Bill Whittle now that he's putting out on a regular basis. He's a very powerful speaker and a very, very intelligent person.
Very sharp. I follow him as well on YouTube, and I always watch any of the videos that you send along my way, because I don't always click on the notification button on YouTube because I'd be inundated.
Yes, I had to get very
a lot.
I had to be very special about that. Once I realized that I was just getting inundated to the point where I lost all the rest of the communication because it was just like, oh, YouTube just uploaded this video and this video and this video. So I had to be very selective in which ones I put the notification bell. And what I find interesting about that as a sidebar is a lot of people seem to think that that's a problem with YouTube. And I'm like, no, you should be able to subscribe to somebody without getting every single YouTube video that they upload. Because subscriptions show support. But I don't need to know every single time somebody uploads a video because I will go look for them. Because you can look in your subscriptions and see who's uploaded what and when. So I think that's actually a very good function of YouTube as opposed to what other people like Steven Crowder complains about.
You know, it's interesting that, well, I produce and we produce content. I usually do the legwork of putting it up on the internet.
Yes.
On what I call YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Gab, Twitter, Facebook, all of those things. I put it up there.
Yeah, you're my tech guy.
Yes. I'm very conscious of the fact that sometimes when you do these things, like send the email, whatever, a notification will make your cell phone bing. And I don't want that to happen at 4 a.m.
Exactly.
So I have to wait, I have to schedule. So yeah, I don't put on all the notifications. But just to get back to Bill Whittle, I think he's such a clever, intelligent man, and he has such a great demeanor and presentation. He's one of my top people to follow out there for a rational viewpoint on mostly American politics.
Yeah, and especially with Right Angle with Steve Green and Scott Ott, they're a charming trio. They're fun, they're funny. They kind of do sort of how we do it with just a one take. There's not a lot of jump cuts. There's not a lot of edits. Actually, I don't think they edit at all. If they make a mistake, they laugh about it and they just carry on, which I really like that level of casualness to it while dealing with serious subjects for the most part.
Yeah.
So he'd be my first one. And you know this, of course, because I talk about him all the time. Matt Christensen. I am a fangirl. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just think he's also another person who's inspired me to do this as well. He does his standalone shows where he does it. There is a lot of cuts in it, but it is very professionally put together, very well done. He puts in video, he does all the rest of it. And he also does a call-in show on Wednesday nights, which anybody can call in and they'll talk live with him and his co-host, Rebecca Blonde. And they also do a Sunday night show. So he puts, this is his life, his time and effort all goes into this. And he's a fairly young guy. I believe he just turned 30. And the 2+ hour show on Sunday nights, just between the two of them, is well worth the watch. They're funny. They complement each other very well. And the standalone shows, he does 2 a week. And those are always excellent and great for information.
Now, wasn't it Matt that you sent off one of your early Danielle Metz shows too?
Yes, because I've
responded.
Yes, he's very. I talk to him via email from time to time whenever there's anything I think and he's very responsive. He likes his crowd. He actually recently set up a spreadsheet that his viewers can go to arrange gatherings of the audience. So if you live in the same area as somebody else who watches the show, and it's been very successful. They've had quite a few, like there's 600 to 700 people that are signed up on this sheet.
That's one of the things and one of the reasons I like what you're doing today with this who do you follow type of thing, because I can go back to before the internet. And of course, I read Ayn Rand and became a fan of her system of philosophy, objectivism. But I found that, boy, there was nobody around me who was turned on to that. A doctor actually suggested then that, because I was talking about philosophy with him, and he says, "Oh, you're an objectivist. Why don't you go join the Freedom Party then?" This was 1985,
Wow.
1 year after they formed, and I went down to their office and met Bob, your father, and
You went
a
up
lot
to
of
the
other
office.
people.
They're on the third floor of that building.
Oh, tell me about it. Used to have to carry my bike up 3 stories to
We had
the
to move
office.
we had to move a couch out of that place. Oh my God, that was, well, not me, but I was witness to that.
But the idea is that there's a great sense of a well-being when you find other people who share your point of view.
Yeah, and the
you
community.
and community, and then you can hone your own skills and your understanding of either the philosophy that you're in or the political arguments that you're trying to hone. And it's very valuable.
Also, I find once you find sources you can trust, it's nice you can be confident in the information that you're getting, because you know people who are willing to make, like if they make a mistake, they'll come back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong about that." And you know those are the people that you can trust. And I find that once you have that community, it makes your own thinking about the events of the world that much clearer, because
Yes.
you know you're getting the proper information.
And to further that point, a lot of the people that we might go through today in the next few minutes is, I don't agree with absolutely everything they say. As a
No,
matter
you
of
don't
fact,
have
I
to.
don't think that there's anybody on my list that I would absolutely agree with, except perhaps Gad Sad.
Yeah.
I have yet to find something from Gad Sad I disagree with.
You just have to be careful
So-
of his sarcasm, though, because before I realized he was completely sarcastic, I was taking him literally for the first bit, and I'm like, "That's just wrong." Oh no, okay, no, that's because he's being sarcastic. Okay, I get it now, and that's his shtick. But yeah, he's on my list as well. He's a great source of information.
Yeah, and we were very glad to get him on the Just Right show too, and sit down with him and have an interview with him about his upcoming book.
Yeah, you both seem to have a proper or a similar view on life and epistemology.
Yes, now I don't know his other viewpoints, and I'm sure there's lots of things that we might disagree with, but I'm just putting that caveat out there that so far, so good.
Well, and since we were at Matt Christensen before we jumped to Gad Sad, but because of Matt Christensen, I came across a fellow named Six Hexenhammer 666. And if you don't understand, if you've never seen him, you have to realize that he has a cup of, I'm assuming it's coffee or tea, and he stirs it while he's doing he does like 7 to 12 minute shows. He does about 4 of them a day, 3 on politics, 1 usually bizarrely on the occult. He also does a lot of gardening, and he sometimes has just a jacket on, no shirt, and I wouldn't say he's an acquired taste, but I say he's somebody you'd be like, what is he doing? And then once you listen to him talk, you realize he's very down to earth, and he understands things from a very strategic point and a very principled point. And I agree with him probably about, I'd say, 85% of the time.
Yeah, the last one you sent to me, I didn't agree with him on. I can't even remember the topic now.
Oh,
but
it was just him talking about Justin Trudeau, the scandal.
yes, that was it. Trudeau
and
and
Bibi Netanyahu.
Netanyahu. Yeah. I'm afraid his knowledge of external leaders may be lacking, but
I know he doesn't like Netanyahu. That would be one of the places I disagree with him.
yeah.
But his characterization of Justin Trudeau, I thought, really the empty suit and he doesn't have any substance to him whatsoever. I thought that was an apt description.
Oh yeah, and it's not going to stop me from watching more
Of course
sticks,
not.
but no. But that's the point, is that you can glean a lot of information and a lot of information from other people, and he's one of them for sure.
Yeah. Let's see, who else would I put in that? I like Dave Culling. He's also known as Computing Forever. He's got 2 channels that I'm aware of. The Dave Cullen Show, where he does the reviews on Star Trek Discovery and Star Wars and Marvel movies and stuff like that. And he does Computing Forever, which ironically enough, started out as more of a tech channel, but then he got involved in politics, and he's in Ireland, so he's a ginger, and his channel, I've watched it for a couple of years now. Watching the progression of how he's become more and more professional gives me something to aspire to. Because, like, we're just taking baby steps right now with our own show, and we're going to, I'm assuming, get better and better and better as we go. Like,
well, let's hope that the internet gets better, because these Skype videos are just awful for their... The bandwidth is terrible here.
Yep. That's move back to London.
I am in the country, and I do have one of those dishes on my roof pointing to a farm silo. It's over the phone network, but they really throttle. It's awful. But hey, compared to some of the stuff I see out there, I'm not too worried.
Oh no, the message is the point, not the means.
The medium is not the message.
Yes, I know. When I was talking to Dan about when I was doing the show, and he goes, "Well, the medium is the message." I went, "No, it's not. The message is the message." Somebody else that I've discovered actually recently, and you had a bit of a discordant kind of initial impression of him, was John Ward, who has a very distinct style, I would say, where the way he says things, he speaks very quickly, even faster than me, which is hard to do. And he has a certain tonal quality, which I can see how it would rub certain people the wrong way. But I find what he says hilarious and clever. And he has a very interesting take on current topics.
Yes, it's unfortunate, though, that he has a style that just goes...
you don't like it.
that just goes against my listening skills. I don't blame him necessarily. Maybe it's more for the younger crowd. But as an old guy, I mean, when he just goes on that rant and it's like he takes out all the pauses and it's a non-stop barrage of words. I'm sorry, my brain doesn't work that fast.
Luckily mine does, because I find he's just a hoot. And speaking of style, the amazing Lucas. Now he has a great style. Oh my goodness. He is not what he's so fresh. I'm going to use the word fresh. I hate that word, but he is fresh. He's like a conservative from a completely different, he's not the old stodgy conservative. He's a young guy. He's a black guy. He has passion, and he just uses parlance that I would not know. Like, oh, just miss me with that, bruh. Just miss me with that. And he's just fun. I just love listening. I actually listen to his shows more than once just because they're so entertaining and such a pleasure to listen to, compared to like the stodginess of a lot of people who tend to be on the right. They tend to be kind of, I don't want to say low key. I want to say kind of too serious. You know, like not fun. And he's fun. That's why I really like him.
I remember when somebody asked Jordan Peterson in the video that I did of him, people complain that you're not fun. And he goes, I'm fun when the situation, calls for fun, and I'm serious when the situation calls for serious. That's a very serious answer.
Yes, I was going to say. Thus, you just proved the point. Good job.
Yeah, well.
Speaking of serious, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, you gotta love Ben.
I love Ben. I know that a lot of people have a problem with him because he is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? He can have fun. If you get him, when he was reading Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal, he was killing himself laughing. I actually watched him read it out a couple times, because when he laughs, it's just, because it's such a rare thing, because he's so, I don't want to say dour, but really very serious about everything he's talking about. He's passionate about it, but in that kind of way. So when he laughs, it's just great. And he's a virtuoso violinist, so watching him do the Game of Thrones scene or theme song and playing it by violin, that was a classic video. I recommend you check it out because he's very talented. And yeah, he's very well researched, very quick on his toes, and freaking smart. He's one smart dude.
Yes, he is. And I watch him quite often, and I enjoy him, even though he does talk fast too. Not as fast as Ward, but still fast enough that slow enough that I can keep up with him. But
I'm pretty sure he has to work on that. I'm gonna guess that that's something like I have to do. I have to learn to slow my words down because they just come. I think it's because my dad used to interrupt me all the time when I was a kid.
Tell me about it.
So I had to learn to get my point in as quick as possible, so everything comes out really fast before I get. Oh crap! I can't speak for a while because now he's speaking, but yeah, I know I'm not the only victim of that. Actually, it's interesting because you have Ben Shapiro, you have Bill Whittle, and then you have Steven Crowder, and they all traveled in the same circles. Like they're all within, Ben Shapiro and Bill Whittle, I believe, are stone's throw apart. Same with Dave Rogan. Joe Rogan, sorry. I meant Dave Rubin.
Dave Rubin.
Yeah, Dave Rubin, I believe he's like literally a block away from Bill Whittle.
Oh.
And they all travel in the same circles, and they all tend to have the same guests on, which is kind of nice because, again, that's that sense of community. And I love Dave Rubin. He does a good job with his guests. He might not be as challenging an interviewer as a lot of people would like. He tends to just he seems to be more inquiring rather than a challenger. You know, he's not going to call you on it. He just wants to know what do you believe and how do you think it fits into this and what do you think other people think.
I wonder if that doesn't stem from his one time being on the left, Dave Rubin, and then finding out that there's more to life than the nonsense that they're spewing on the left. So he's cautious about new ideas.
Possibly.
And he's willing to let people speak and present them.
Well, he also came from the Young Turks, which I find hard to believe because that is such a far left-leaning show, and it seemed an angry show as well. I'm better than you. I'm better. That's the whole theme of the show. And Dave Rubin is such a laid-back, kind. He seems like such a nice guy you want to go for a beer with.
Yes.
You know, so I really enjoy his stuff. Joe Rogan, sorry, which I misspoke before. For me, I like his stuff, but he's hit or miss. Sometimes they just go off on such a tangent and his shows tend to be very long. And considering all the people have already listed that I follow on a regular basis, having to devote 4 hours and 40 minutes to watch Alex Jones on his show, that's going to take me days to get through. And then sometimes he's just like, when Candace Owen was on the show and they're talking about climate change and he just couldn't believe that she didn't care about climate change and he just couldn't let it go. He was like a bulldog. And it's like, Joe, calm down. But he's a bit of a stoner, so I think that has a lot to do with the vagaries in his interview style, but he's really popular.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. Now I hear Elon Musk is going to be investigated by the FBI.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that. Oh, because I know the meme that's been going around of him smoking up on Joe's show, but I didn't realize. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, prove it was pot. Go ahead. Be that as it may, I find Joe fine. I listen more to his guests rather than Joe.
Yes.
And I think that's a big difference between him and the others, is that the others have a point of view of their own to offer that I want to hear. But Joe, I don't find as philosophic as a Rubin or a Shapiro or any of those others. It's
like when he was talking one of the latest ones he's done with Dr. Phil, which I really highly enjoyed, and thankfully it was only an hour and a half. Dr. Phil was telling him, you know, you actually sound like you're interested in what your guests have to say. You don't have a motive. You just guide them and draw information out because you're actually interested in your guest. And it's your guest is basically the show, not Joe Rogan. And I think that's completely accurate.
Speaking of Joe Rogan, though, it's interesting to see how many of these so-called right-wing or alternative media guys are stand-up comedians or former stand-up comedians, including Joe and Dave Rubin.
Yeah. And Steven Crowder.
Pat Condell, which is somebody I was hoping that you'd get to because I follow him a lot, and he is just a treasure. He's amazing.
But is he on Twitter? Because I don't see anything on YouTube by him, and I'm mostly YouTube. I occasionally will flirt with Twitter every time now and then, but I don't have time to keep up with all the sources of information.
He had problems with YouTube. I do follow him on YouTube, but he had problems with YouTube, them demonetizing him and banning his videos.
And putting him in limited state a lot of the times, too.
Yes, so he went over to BitChute, where we are, too, Just Right Media. And Danielle Metz Show, I put our shows up on BitChute as well.
I should probably go check our shows out. I already know what we said. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned comedians, and Steven Crowder also is a comedian. I used to follow Owen Benjamin, but then Owen Benjamin kind of went off the rails for me, and he and Steven Crowder were really good friends, or still are as far as I understand. But when he did the whole rant about the moon landing didn't happen and all the conspiracy theories behind that, I just I couldn't do it anymore. Even though I really enjoy his comedy, and I think he's a very smart fellow, and I like a lot of his perspectives, and he comes at everything from a different angle. His thought processes are different than a lot of the regular people I follow. So I kind of missed that he was fresh, but that went on forever. It wasn't like a one-off. He doubled down and then tripled down, and it caused supposedly a rift with Steven Crowder, and it was too much drama. So
there's things about somebody who denies something so blatantly undeniable as men landing on the moon, that makes you question everything else that they have to say, and I can understand why you'd want to walk away from Owen Benjamin for that.
But he is back on Crowder somewhat. I think he's appeared in a couple skits, so I'm glad he's got that still stable. But because I really like Steven Crowder, he's a great guy. Another guy who talks really fast as well.
He's one of the best for content, original content.
Yes.
He puts a lot of work into his stuff, and it really shows.
Yep, he's got writers, and I've followed him since he was just like he was on Fox for a while, and I know him from there. And then he had his own show where he just like had a curtain behind him, and I've been through a bunch of his producers, and I've probably been following him for quite some time now. I can't remember when I first came across him, but
he did a great one on Canadian healthcare.
Yes,
and that goes way back a number of years.
He's originally Canadian.
Yeah, French Canadian too.
Yep.
Well, Montreal.
Yes, his mother's French Canadian.
Yeah, it's great that he's got that connection to Canada. Of course, that's where we're from. So that's always nice to see.
He's one of ours.
Yeah, why did he move to Detroit then?
Well, now he's in Texas.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he moved from Detroit.
Is that where he's saying he is now?
That's where he's saying he is now, yes. And speaking of Canadians, another one I like is Black Pigeon Speaks.
Yes.
He's very detailed, a tad over dramatic, but the subjects he talks about kind of warrant that level of drama because he's you can tell he does his research. He talks a lot about world politics, but because he's Canadian, I think he's in BC, he very much focuses on Canadian politics from a very conservative point of view, which is nice to hear too, because the States typically ignores Canada. So if you're going to get anything about what's going on here, either you have to listen to us, or Black Pigeon Speaks.
There's a number of them out there, and if we want to right now go into some of the Canadian ones, you've got Faith Goldie I follow, True North.
Yes.
Initiative with Andrew Lawton. He puts out a video almost every day, and he's such a clever guy. A guest several times on our show as well, and a personal acquaintance, if not friend.
Yes, I was going to say, I think we're friends.
And, well, of course, what's his name? Jordan Peterson. Yeah, that's the one. Jordan Peterson, another Canadian. And Rick Mehta has been going through some problems. Yep. Being fired from Acadia U. And Lindsay Shepherd, another guest on our show, as was Rick. And David Haskell from the Society for Academic Freedom and Scholarship. There's a lot of local talent out there that may not be in the same kind of league or even in the same business as a Dave Rubin, hosting guests and things like that, or putting up their own personal blogs. But they're adding to the whole content that people should really follow these people and listen to what they're saying because they're part of our community.
Yeah. And another Canadian that you didn't mention is Stéphane Maloney, but I don't think he's to your taste.
Not really. There's something about Stéphane. He puts a lot of good stuff out there. But
he is very detailed, and he's a good source to go to. Like when I was researching the SNC-Lavalin thing, he went point by point by point and put it up on the screen so you could follow every single thing. So it was great for research.
And I've been actually following Stéphane for a number of years, even when he didn't have any followers. That's how long I remember him. But I think what rubs me the wrong way sometimes, and it really shouldn't, because you can't fault people for being wrong sometimes if their heart is in the right place, is that he was, or at least was, I don't know if he is still, very much a libertarian. And I'm not a libertarian.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a capitalist. He talks about being a capitalist a lot. I'm not sure how he has that tied into his libertarianism, but he hasn't really. The last few videos I've watched from him, he hasn't really brought a lot of that to the forefront, so I don't know. But he does, and he does a weird like call-in shows for him, so he'll like try to walk people through their personal problems and that kind of stuff. I don't typically, not really interested in, because I only have so many hours in the day, and with Joe Rogan taking up 4 of them, I mean, really, what can I do?
Knock it off, Joe.
Who else do I follow? Well, we haven't mentioned Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, who started a whole Patreon thing, which is also why Matt Christensen is quite famous, is because he actually got a call into Patreon and transcribed it to basically expose what Patreon was doing behind the scenes. So that was really important, and that was the deplatforming heard around the world, because that caused a run on Patreon's platform and started a bunch of new platforms to get more and more attention. So that was
Bob and I just dumped Patreon about 30 days after we heard about all that nonsense. We're not going to put up with that nonsense.
Yeah, it's subjective. It was completely subjective. Terms of services don't matter anymore. It's just what we feel like, a whimsical thing. And
like what got me was when one of his security, what did they call him, safety.
Trust and Safety Council.
Yes, when she said that if you want to make sure that your content is not going to get banned, run it by me first. Yeah, right. Goodbye, toots.
Yeah, that's that mothering attitude. It's like that when Tim Pool was on Joe Rogan's show. Oh, Tim Pool, I should mention him as well. He's a left-winger, but he is a very good reporter. But he was on Joe Rogan's show with Jack Dorsey, and Jack Dorsey's Trust and Safety Council lawyer or whatever. And she came at it like she was the mother figure. She actually said that. Oh, yeah. I'm the mother here, and I'm gonna, blah, blah. And it's like, no, we don't need mothers. This is bad. No. It's either a free expression platform or it's not. Pick one. And just be honest about it. And that's the whole problem.
I think you've covered the majority of, at least the major characters here. Was there any more? Because I can go down the list of what I got here with the ones that you may have missed.
Okay, well, I got Mark Stein.
Yes, of course.
Tommy Robinson.
Yep.
Who's going through another legal battle. Lucky him.
Yep.
PragerU.
Yes.
John Stossel. Rance Derrick. Shoe on Head. She's a very interesting girl. And I think that's about it. There's only one more, but it's nothing to do with politics, and that's CinemaSins. I love CinemaSins.
I think you mentioned to me that site before.
Oh, it's classic. Jeremy, the narrator, has a particular wit, and he picks on movies. He admits that I love this movie, but every movie has its sins, so he picks out flaws. But he'll take sins away when they do something good. It's just a comedy rant about movies, and it's just very clever.
Well, I'm just going to, also rans or consolation prizes here. I'm just going to run
Otherwise
through
known as your picks?
Well, no, because I follow almost all of the ones that you've mentioned. But here are some of the ones that are left over on my YouTube subscription list. Is the Ayn Rand Institute, of course. Short Fat Otaku, who put a great piece together on MasterCard and Patreon and that. I subscribe to Pentella's Comedy at Steve Crowder's recommendation. The Rebel Media.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. I have that on my list. I didn't.
Online Wipe, a smaller channel. Sam Harris, of course. Cambridge House International. Faith Goldie. John Ward's up there, though I don't, like I said, only in little bits. Literature Devil, Steve Crowder. Rance Derrick is a Canadian guy.
I actually, he's on my list. I missed him. He's funny.
He is
the stereotypical what people think Canadian guys are.
Yeah. He'll be out there feeding his horse hay as he's talking, drinking a beer and
in
smoking
minus
a cigarette.
30-degree weather.
And he's got a lot of good things to say.
Yeah,
so he's only got 5,500 subscribers, but I'd recommend him for sure, especially for Canadians. Then there's some of my other stuff for my hobbies, like space stuff and painting stuff. But Declassified of the Epoch Times.
I didn't realize that.
Got to watch the Epoch Times. Yeah, Oxford Union, who have some great people on speaking. John Stossel. Don't Let It Go, Amy Peikoff. Maxime Bernier. Here's one, Frank Vaughan. No relation that I'm aware of, but he's coming out as a very big supporter of the People's Party of Canada and Maxime Bernier, and it's a very good style of speaking and
very passionate. Yeah.
True North Initiative, GADSAT, of course, Perspectiva, who had Jordan Peterson on, and what else? Karen Strawn. You missed Karen Strawn.
Yes.
250,000 subscribers thereabouts. Usually about men and women relationships and
Yeah,
how,
she
how
hasn't
we treat
posted
each other.
anything. She's also a fan of Matt Christensen's show because she shows up in their live stream feed on a regular basis as well.
Ah.
But I haven't seen anything new videos from her unless YouTube's suppressing them because I am subscribed.
Oh. Project Veritas, of course. Pat Condell, Leonard Peikoff. Now, of course, he's not posting anything, but there's some good stuff on his YouTube channel that people should check out. The Objective Standard. Now, we actually got more subscribers than the Objective Standard, but they're really worth watching. And because they put up some very intelligent stuff about Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism. And Freedom Party International, Freedom Party Canada, PJ Media, Paul McKeever, of course, good friend of ours, leader of the Freedom Party. And last but not least, Just Right Media.
I was going to leave that for you to say because I knew that was coming.
Yeah, we're doing fairly well. We're climbing up there in the subscriber stuff on YouTube. But I think before we go, though, we should let people, encourage them to follow these people. Give us suggestions of who else we should watch because this is certainly not an exhaustive list. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Send money via PayPal, thank you very much. And let everybody else know because it's only because of these kinds of community bringing together that an organization or a movement grows.
Exactly. Well, on that happy, cheerful note, take care, behave yourself, and we'll talk again soon. Cheers.